الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا ومولانا محمد عبده ورسوله اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد الفاتح لما غلق والخاتم لما سبق الناصر الحق بالحق والهادي إلى صراطك المستقيم وعلى آله حق قدره ومقداره العظيم. قال الله تعالى في كتابه قال أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وما يؤمن أكثرهم بالله إلا وهم مشركون وما يؤمن أكثرهم بالله إلا وهم مشركون. Allah Azza wa Jalla said in His book, one of the most paradoxical statements that we know of in terms of revelation, one of the most paradoxical and frankly thought-provoking statements in the book of Allah. When I say paradox, I mean it's a contradiction. A paradox is a contradiction. It's what they call ijtima' ad-dain, that you would put together two things that appear to be opposite. And I think we mentioned this before, so we do this all the time. I remember coming up as a kid wondering what fresh frozen meant. When you go to the grocery store, they say fresh frozen. It's a paradox because it can't be fresh and frozen simultaneously. Yet, ta-da, in the bag it is. We also have jumbo shrimp. Jumbo shrimp is a paradox because the shrimp is a small thing. How can it ever be jumbo? But apparently, you should get the jumbo shrimp because there's more to it. There's more to the little thing. It's a big little thing. This is paradoxical. These kind of paradoxical statements are difficult for the mind to take in. You just kind of take it at face value and say, okay, jumbo shrimp, no problem. Fresh frozen. Makes no sense. Bismillah, let's just eat. But Allah doesn't put anything in His book except that it be something to ponder upon. And He says, وَمَا يُؤْمِنُ أَكْثَرُهُمْ بِاللَّهِ إِلَّا وَهُمْ مُشْرِكُونَ. Now obviously, the meaning of which is, and most of them are not in a state of belief. يُؤْمِنُ is a present tense verb, so it's indicating something that's happening now. Literally speaking. And most of them are not in a state of belief in Allah, billahi, illa wahum mushrikun. Except while at the same time they are polytheists. So he's talking about the people of Mecca, obviously. They believed in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but they knew He was there. I had a friend of mine when I became a Muslim, I told him about Islam, he said, yeah, man, that's cool, That's cool. I mean, I hear you. God's there. I'm there. We're cool. The same kind of idea that what's the problem? I mean, he's there. I'm there. We're having a big party. But that's not belief in Allah. So He said, Allah Azza wa Jalla said, وَمَا يُؤْمِنُ أَكْثَرُهُمْ بِاللَّهِ إِلَّا وَهُمْ مُشْرِكُونَ. Most of them are not in the state of belief when it comes to God, except that they associate with that. And this is a paradoxical statement because how do you believe in Allah while at the same time associating or being, how do you be a monotheist while being a polytheist? Is that even possible? Because believing in Allah, by definition, Allah is a single entity that you put your belief into. How do you do that at the same time while associating? And most of us would just read through this ayah and say something like, La'anallah alayhim, may Allah curse them, and keep moving. But there's something that we need to understand, that this is something that's for us to contemplate. And He says again, وَمَا يُؤْمِنُ أَكْثَرُهُمْ بِاللَّهِ إِلَّا وَهُمْ مُشْرِكُونَ. So if we take this idea of shirk, we know that shirk is the thing that Allah despises the most. The most despised thing. Allah has said in His book that He will forgive everything except for shirk. That sounds serious. Shirk is worse than alcohol, shirk is worse than zina. To put it into perspective, because I know some of us feel so strongly about this issue, because it's raging in our hearts, that we, for example, want to condemn, and I'm not condoning it, just saying, for context, we want to condemn homosexuality and say, these people, no Muslim can ever be like this. Right. Okay. That condemnation is very, very, very strong. Don't associate, don't talk, don't deal with these kinds of people, they're shayateen. and go forth and go on with that, which I'm not arguing or just saying. We will say that, and most of us feel that way. However, we don't have a problem with having a friend who disbelieves in God. We don't have a problem with having a friend who actually doesn't believe God even exists. Yeah, I'm having Tom over tonight. Tom is a mushrik. Tom's an atheist. And Tom's a great guy. We just don't talk about God. Meanwhile, you might have Ahmed, who has a little bit of an issue he's battling himself with. But he still believes. But you won't associate with Ahmed and you'll have Tom over any night. But in fact, shirk is worse than that. Or in this case, denial of God's existence altogether is actually worse than shirk, which is worse than any kind of act of homosexuality. Shirk is the worst thing. Allah hates it. And He said that He will not forgive it. It's serious. But what is it then? Shirk is to make associations. Shirk, if you say, huwa mushrik, it means literally he's an associator. But it doesn't always have bad context. For example, you can say, I work in a company. Sharika, it's a partnership. Most of us have a partnership of some sort. It's not a problem. But you recognize that when you're in an association, you recognize that we're in a partnership with someone, that you need them for something, they need you for something. So to associate is to join between two things. Literally, association is joining between two things, or what you and I call sharing. Now on a basic level, that's a good thing. When you have a child, you teach them to be a sharer. Sharing is not a bad thing per se. You teach them to share. For example, if your kid has a lunch and the kid next to them doesn't have anything to eat, you wouldn't think it's a good thing when they come home and say, La sharika la. I didn't associate anything. I mean, with him, but in this context, with him. I didn't share anything with him. That's not a good thing. Everything has its place. Everything has its context. To associate is to join between two things. It's to share. Now, for two things to share, they must share like natures. In order for me to share with something, I have to have a like nature with that thing. In other words, the reason why, for example, when it comes to like natures, that Allah sent down prophets as people, is because if God had sent down an angel, we would have gone to hell, because we would not be able to relate to that person if we don't have similar natures. You understand my point? We wouldn't have similar natures. We wouldn't be able to get along with each other, because the angel doesn't even make mistakes. And the Messenger of Allah, he does, if you look in the seerah, you look at examples where he did a perfection that was less than the perfection that was expected from him. You find this. For example, you find when he, Abasa wa Tawalla, he went to the leader of the Quraysh, thinking that if I call on the leader and he accepts, everybody underneath him will accept. So he thought it was a good dawah strategy. But it wasn't the most, and that was perfect. But it wasn't a perfection. I mean, we can't even imagine this. It was a perfection less than the perfection God wanted from him, which is beyond our understanding. So he said, Abasa wa Tawalla. He just gave him a little, Habibi. Habibi, like one of those, like the Syrian Habibi drop. Habibi, in other words, there's something you could have done that's even better than what you're doing. And he gave him admonition in this way. So he shows us that, we see that in the Prophet to know that he's also a human being. So for two things to share, they must share like natures. For me to be able to share in what the Prophet brought, I have to be able to relate, I have to be able to see myself. Which is why if you look in the seerah, especially in the seerah, and if you look in the Quran, you will find yourself. You will see your nature. If you want to know how you are, look in the seerah and look in the Quran, you will find yourself. And if you find yourself in a way you shouldn't be, you also find a way to correct it. You find a way out of the malady. So for two things to share, they must share like natures. And nature is an essential attribute. What is a nature then? Abdul Latif, we're going on about nature. What is a nature? A nature is an essential attribute. It's that thing that defines. It's a characteristic that defines the entity speaking. So if you were to ask me, what is Abdul Latif's nature? I would say, Abdul Latif is 6'2". He will not disclose his weight to you. That's not necessary to understand. It fluctuates. Give me a break. He has dark hair now. give it a few years. He has 2 children. May Allah preserve them and give them children until the last day. He is a Muslim. May Allah give us husn al-khitam. May Allah give us an ending on La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. But these are characteristics, these are attributes, but they're not essential to me. For example, my hair now is black, basically. But it's not an essential attribute that my hair be black, because I can go bleach my hair, I can then dye it green, or it can all turn white by itself, which it's doing very nicely, in a very slow pace. That means that attribute about myself, it doesn't describe my nature. It's not an essential characteristic. Something that's essential to my character, essential to my nature, will be I have a soul. That's something essential to me, because if that goes, what happens to Abdul Latif? You'll be doing the janazah. Inshallah. Please come. They say 40 or more is a good deal, so please come. A nature is an essential attribute, or what you can call a characteristic of something. The nature of this building is that it's expansive. May Allah expand it. The nature of this building is that it provides a place to pray for people who believe in La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. May Allah make that its attribute until the last day. These are characteristics. These are what describe the nature of something. But these are all created things. These are all things that are created. They have nature to them that is based upon their created sense of existence. But let's move up one level and say that God's essential characteristic. What is God's essential characteristic? It took me a second to think about myself. What is my essential characteristic? What is it that makes me who I am? It took me a moment. I started thinking about hair. Hair changes. I started thinking about even stature, because from what I can tell, as you get older, you kind of shrink. So that's not essential. The only thing I can think of about myself that's always going to be there until I'm not there anymore is the fact that I have a soul. But when it comes to God, let's think about that. What is God's essential characteristic? What is it about our Creator, our Sustainer, our Nourisher, our Cherisher, the source of love, the source of destruction for that matter? Dhul Jalali, Wal Ikram, the possessor of sublimity and the possessor of nobility, or you can say generosity. He's the first, He's the last, He's the manifest, He's the hidden. Think about all these different names. These are characteristics that describe the Creator of the world. But which of them is essential to Him? How can we describe, what is an essential characteristic when it comes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? This is something that we should think about. When I stand before Allah, and I worship Allah, and I call on His names, and I talk to Him, and I ask from Him, and I contemplate Him, and I think about Him, and I fall in love with Him, and I walk towards Him, and I swim towards Him, and I crawl towards Him. That thing that pulls me towards Him, what is it? What is that thing that causes me to be like a moth to the flame? What is it His essential characteristic that makes Him who He is, that it makes Him absolutely irresistible? Even creation that doesn't know He exists, in the sense that they've forgotten Him, cannot resist this aspect of Him. What is it about the Creator of the world, Rabbil Alameen, that makes Him who He is, that makes Him absolutely and completely and entirely irresistible? Is it His Rahmaniyah? Is it His mercifulness? Is it His Rahimiyah? Is it His quality of as sustainer? When you think about all these qualities, you say to yourself, yes, that's there, but it's not exactly what hits it. There's something beyond even the attributes. There's something even beyond the names. There's just something so essential to Him that makes Him who He is that I cannot escape. What is it? What is that thing about God? What is that thing about the creator of the world, Allah? What is it about Him that no thing can resist? What is it about Him that no thing can run from? What is it about Him that no existent creature can ever escape? One of them, they said, fine, if you want to disobey God, no problem. Just find a place where He can't see you and do it there. If you want to disobey God, no problem. Just find some situation where He doesn't know about it. You have free choice. You can do what you want. Just find a place where He can't find you. But there's something before that, before His mercy, before His knowledge, subhanahu wa ta'ala, before His encompassing nature. There's something that is there, that is about Him, that is absolutely necessary. What is it? God's essential characteristic is being. Being. God is. God is. He is with a capital I. His isness is in such a way that it never, ever has been exposed to time. It never was. It never shall be. It creates what was. And it created what is in the lowercase sense. And it creates what shall be. But His isness, and His existence, and His being, so essential to Him, that He actually is that thing. He is existence in its most absolute sense. And the reason why He said that creatures cannot escape that is because you can't say that about any other entity in the universe, outside, or nothing's outside the universe, but you cannot say that about anything else. What's my proof? Everything that is has a cause that brings it into existence. Isn't that true? For this building to be here, did it just say, that's it, it appears? No. There are buildings. The people that are in this building, did we all just like Adam and Islam just, that's it, kun fayakun, and the room's full of people? There are causes, and causes, and causes, and causes, and causes that go back to Adam. Our existence is an existence that's built upon causes. Whereas Allah's existence is an existence that has no cause. And therefore always is. And everything that needs a cause to exist, which is everything but Allah, they all look back to the one who causes things through His own existence. So God's essential characteristic is being, and the being of all other things is merely accidental. The existence of all other things but Allah, it can come and it can go. How ridiculous it is to give Allah the attribute of something that comes and goes. Because in order for something to come, it has to have something that makes it come. And in order for it to go, it has to be something that makes it go. And Allah doesn't come, He doesn't go. Allah simply is. And we are the creatures that we come and go. And we are accidental. We are just these things that pop in and pop out. And just as we needed something to bring us into existence, we need something to bring us out of existence. And in between between those two ends, there is something that has to be there every second, every moment of our life that's giving us existence so that we can do everything else. And do you think that's because I'm a Muslim and you're a Muslim that that's the case? No, it's because that's called reality. And every creature, whether you believe in God or whether you deny His existence, cannot escape this reality that your being is not yours. It's caused. Because if your being was yours, you will be able to decide when you come and go. And nothing in this universe is in that condition. And the reason why all of us look towards God is because everything needs a cause. And He's causing everything to happen at every moment. Accidental things have something that gives them existence. In other words, accidental things have something that gives them existence. Given existence can be taken away. Given existence can be taken away. Allah gives, Allah takes back. The existence that I have is a borrowed existence that if Allah wants to take it, who am I to say? If Allah takes my child, who am I to say? Oh, he died too young. Who are you to say? Why is war happening here? Why is war happening there? Why is the Muslims even saying this? Who are you to say? Your job is the abd, you're the slave. You don't say where. To say these kinds of things is to say, outside of basic humanity. To question the wisdom of God in these situations is to say, well, if it was up to me, I'd do it my way. The world would be full of peace. That's true. It would be. Right? And it's a small world after all. Because you're in Disneyland, my friend. Given existence can be taken away, and that which can be taken away at will is not permanent. That which can be taken away at will, at any time, is not something that is blessed with permanence. There is nothing permanent about my existence. There is nothing permanent about your existence. There is nothing permanent about any existent thing that is in this universe. The universe itself is given existence. It itself is not permanent. The question you have to ask yourself is this: if that is the case, then nothing is permanent, then why in the world am I looking for permanence? In other words, if this is all we have, if this existence is all that we know, my question to ask you and myself is this: if that be the case, then why is it that I am looking for permanence? When I want happiness, I don't want it to go. When I'm free from harm, I don't want it to change. I'm looking for permanence. Is that not the case? But you've never seen it. Where is permanence? In a few minutes, this will be done. The day will be done. You and I will be done. But yet I'm looking for permanence. And why is that? It's either one of two things. Either creation, human beings in particular, is insane. We are born categorically insane, trying to do the same thing, trying to get the same result. No. How do you say that? Doing the same thing. No. Your results are the same, and you keep trying to do the same thing over and over again to get different results. That's called insanity. And if I am looking for permanence, and the permanence doesn't exist, then I'm either categorically insane, as the rest of you are, we're all in a big loony bin, or we know permanence before we came here. And we remember it, and we want it back. If that be the case, then the only thing permanent is God, which means the only thing I'm looking for is God. And we want Him back. May Allah give us Allah. That which can be taken away at will is not permanent. Impermanence is the characteristic of human beings. Impermanence, a lack of permanence, is the characteristic of all creation, but in our conversation, specifically when it comes to the human being. Yesterday, I saw on the internet a really strange photograph. It freaked me out at first, but then I realized how beautiful it was. There was in some country, I think it might have been Australia or one of these places, a woman had a C-section where they cut open her abdomen, lower abdomen, so that the baby can come out. When they took the baby out, it was still in that sack. Her water had not broken. It was the most gruesomely beautiful thing I've ever seen. It was ugly beautiful. Just like human beings, we are ugly beautiful. It was a sack of water, and there was a cord thing, and there's no breath. They had to break it actually, and then they saw the baby taking the air. That's the human being. That thing that is born from two dirty substances, raised in 3 levels of darkness, in a sack of water. And then when you and I come out from our origins, forgive me for saying this, but it's absolutely true, we continue to be sacks. We're just sacks of filth. That's all that we are. Sacks of filth with legs. That's the state of the human being. Human beings refer to themselves through the letter I. Human beings, we refer to ourselves through a very simple letter, shortest word in the whole English language, I. Therefore, shirk is hidden in the letter I. Shirk is the act of making associations. To associate is to join between two things, to share. For two things to share, they must share like natures. And nature is an essential attribute or characteristic. God's essential characteristic is being. The being of all other things is merely accidental. Accidental things have something that gives them existence. Given existence can be taken away. That which can be taken away at will is not permanent. Impermanence is the characteristic of human beings. Human beings refer to themselves as through the letter I. Therefore, shirk is hidden in the letter I. What did he say? After being quizzed, our brothers in choice, the jinn, Shaitan was asked why he didn't pray why he didn't prostrate to Adam. What did he say? قَالَ أَنَا خَيْرٌ مِّنْهُ خَلَقْتَنِي مِنْ نَارٍ وَخَلَقْتُهُ مِنْ طِينٍ. I am better than him. I am better than him. You created me from fire, and you created him from clay. And in that moment you see the danger of the word I, because you see the shirk that's hidden inside. And why is that? That which exists independently does not have to answer to anything. Shaitan had to answer. Therefore his existence is dependent. Such an independent existence, or such a dependent existence does not support such an independent stance. So why then do I say I? I implore you to be God conscious and to hear and to obey. الحمد لله اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد الفاتح لما أغلق والخاتم لما سبق ناصر الحق بالحق والهادي إلى صراطك المستقيم وعلى آله حق قدره مقدار العظيم. So, as we said, to repeat in summary, that which exists independently does not have to answer to anyone. That which has its own existence, an existence that is not based upon any kind of cause, does not have to answer to anyone. Allah ya'lamu wa antum la ta'lamun. Allah knows and you do not know. That's Quran. Allah ya'lamu wa antum la ta'lamun. Allah knows and you do not know. Shaitan had to answer. Shaitan had to answer to his cause, the causer. He had to answer to him. Why did you not prostrate to the one that I commanded you to prostrate to? Therefore, his existence is dependent. A dependent creature, a fallible creature, a deficient creature, had to answer to one who is not. And such a dependent existence does not support such an independent stance. So why do I walk through this world with such a shaitanic stance? وَمَا يُؤْمِنُ أَكْثَرُهُمْ بِاللَّهِ إِلَّا وَهُمْ مُشْرِكُونَ وَمَا يُؤْمِنُ أَكْثَرُهُمْ بِاللَّهِ إِلَّا وَهُمْ مُشْرِكُونَ. And the majority of them, they don't believe in Allah, except while doing so they are polytheists. Because I can do it if I try. I can do it if I try. If I make effort, I will succeed. You need to make effort because I did it and I succeeded, and if you do it, you will succeed. No kind of inshallah. No kind of mashallah. No kind of nothing. And this man's name is Ahmed. Hatta ismuhu Muhammad. Even his name is Muhammad, talking like this. And we want to talk about the problems that are in the world. We want to give people problems. We want to talk about them. We're the ones who know. But our language is like those people who don't even believe in Allah. And this is called taqwa. May Allah give us taqwa. Ameen. May Allah give us taqwa. And may Allah give us the kind of dependence, may Allah give us the kind of conscious dependence upon Him that is needed to be able to succeed in this world and hereafter. May He do it with His mercy and His rahmah, and not through His imtihanat, not through His examinations. Because wallahi, we can't make it. The only way someone can make it through Allah's examination is through Allah anyway. So ask for Allah. Some people, they want beauty. I say want Allah, the creator of beauty. Some people, they want love. I say want Allah, the creator of love. Some people, they say they want paradise. I say want Allah, the creator of paradise, because what kind of a paradise is it that even there you don't see Allah? Just a perfect creation? I've had enough of this. I don't know about you. I don't want this in a perfect state. I just want Allah. Barakallahu feekum. Alhamdulillah. Wa qina as-salah.